Have you ever read a superhero comic and thought, wow, this origin story is perfect, a seamless, epic tale of tragedy and triumph? Well, what if I told you that the polished story you read is often just the tip of the iceberg, that beneath the surface lies a tangled web of rejected ideas, bizarre plot twists, and characters so strange they were locked away in a creative vault, never to see the light of day? Today, we're unlocking that vault. We're diving deep into the secret origin stories that editors and creators desperately tried to bury. These are the untold tales, the first drafts, and the what-ifs that could have changed everything you know about your favorite heroes. Get ready, because the stories you're about to hear are wild, weird, and absolutely true. They're the origin stories your favorite publisher didn't want you to see. Let's start with a character everyone knows. Superman, the Man of Steel, the last son of Krypton. His origin is legendary: a doomed planet, a desperate scientist, a baby in a rocket, raised by a kindly couple in Kansas. It's a modern myth, but that wasn't the original plan, not even close. In their very first pitch, back in 1933, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster imagined a completely different character. Their Superman wasn't a hero at all. He was a villain, a bald, telepathic megalomaniac bent on world domination. Imagine a Lex Luthor with Professor X's powers, and that was the original Superman. This version appeared in a short story called The Reign of the Superman. A homeless man is plucked from a breadline by a mad scientist, given incredible mental powers, and then promptly kills his creator to take over the world. Thankfully, this version didn't sell. Siegel and Shuster went back to the drawing board, completely reimagining the character into the symbol of hope we know today. Can you imagine a world where the most iconic hero was actually the first great supervillain? It almost happened. Now, let's swing over to the world of Marvel and talk about Spider-Man. Bitten by a radioactive spider, great power, great responsibility. We all know the drill. But Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's original vision had some key differences that would have made for a very different web-slinger. The biggest one, the magic ring. In one of the earliest concepts, Peter Parker wasn't just a science whiz. He found a mystical ring that granted him his spider-like abilities. This would have placed Spider-Man firmly in the realm of magic, alongside characters like Doctor Strange, rather than the street-level science hero he became. The idea was scrapped because Stan Lee wanted to ground him more in the real world, making his powers the result of a freak accident. Something that could theoretically happen to any reader. This change was crucial. It made Peter Parker relatable. He wasn't the chosen one. He was just a kid from Queens who had a really, really bad day at a science exhibit. The magic ring concept was eventually recycled for a different, lesser-known character, but it's a fascinating glimpse into a Spider-Man that could have been more sorcerer than scientist. Speaking of changes, let's talk about Wonder Woman. Her classic origin involves being sculpted from clay by her mother, Queen Hippolyta, and given life by the Greek gods. It's a powerful mythic origin that sets her apart. But for decades, creator William Moulton Marston had a secret he fought to keep out of the comics. His original, more detailed backstory for the Amazons was far more tragic and intense. In his private writings, Marston explained that the Amazons weren't just a peaceful society of warrior women. They were originally enslaved by Hercules and his men, who tricked them, humiliated them, and stole their magical girdles. Hippolyta eventually led a rebellion, breaking their chains and defeating their captors. But the shame and trauma of their enslavement led them to create Paradise Island, a place where no man could ever set foot, to ensure they would never be dominated again. This story of trauma and rebellion was deemed too intense for comics in the 1940s. So, editors softened it, focusing on the idyllic paradise and downplaying the brutal history that forged it. The full story wasn't truly embraced in the comics until decades later, but it was always there, the dark foundation beneath the golden age of Paradise Island. What about the Hulk? Bruce Banner, caught in a gamma bomb blast, turns into a raging green monster. Simple, right? Well, not originally. In his very first appearance in 1962, the Hulk wasn't green, he was gray. Stan Lee's reasoning was simple. He didn't want the Hulk to be associated with any particular ethnic group, and thought gray was a suitably mysterious, spooky color. There was just one problem. The printing technology of the 1960s was not great. The colorist, Stan Goldberg, had immense difficulty keeping the gray color consistent. In some panels, he was light gray, in others, almost black, and sometimes he had a weird greenish tint. Frustrated by the inconsistency, Stan Lee made a quick decision for the second issue. Let's just make him green. It was a purely practical choice, driven by the limitations of printing presses. Over the years, this was brilliantly retconned into the Hulk's lore, with the Grey Hulk becoming a separate, more cunning personality named Joe Fixit. But it all started with a simple printing error. The iconic, incredible Green Hulk was born from a happy accident. Let's jump back to the DC universe and look at the Dark Knight. Batman? His origin is one of the most famous in all of fiction. A young Bruce Wayne witnesses his parents' murder in an alley and vows to rid Gotham of the evil that took their lives. It's a dark, perfect, motivating tragedy. But the original draft by Bill Finger had a few, let's say, less than heroic details. In the very first telling, Bruce Wayne wasn't just a stoic child. He was initially consumed by a raw, burning desire for pure revenge. The idea of justice came later. His initial motivation was much simpler. He wanted to find the man who killed his parents and make him pay. Furthermore, the original Batman had no qualms about killing. He carried a gun and used it. In his early appearances, Batman was seen breaking necks and throwing villains off rooftops to their deaths. It was editor Whitney Ellsworth who stepped in and established Batman's strict no-kill rule and his aversion to firearms. Believing a hero shouldn't resort to the same methods as the criminals he fights, this editorial mandate fundamentally shaped Batman into the complex, morally bound hero we know today, transforming him from a simple vigilante into a symbol of disciplined justice. Finally, let's talk about a team, the X-Men. Mutants, born with extraordinary abilities, sworn to protect a world that fears and hates them. The core concept is a powerful allegory for civil rights, but their original name wasn't quite as catchy. Stan Lee's first choice for the team's name was the Merry Mutants. He loved the alliteration, but his publisher Martin Goodman hated it. Goodman's feedback was blunt. "Stan, nobody will know what a mutant is." He thought the name was too confusing for readers. So, Stan Lee had to think fast. He came up with a new explanation. Their mentor, Professor Shafleshevy, has an extra power in his brain, and so he calls his students the X-Men, in his own honor. It was a slightly egotistical, unpolite explanation, but Goodman approved it, and so, the X-Men were born. It's funny to think that one of the most powerful brand names in comic book history was a last-minute replacement for the Merry Mutants, a name that sounds more like a Saturday morning cartoon than a team of persecuted heroes. From a villainous Superman to a gun-toting Batman, and a gray Hulk born from a printing era, the history of comics is filled with these incredible secret origins. These first drafts and rejected ideas show us that the creative process is messy, chaotic, and often accidental. The iconic characters we love weren't born perfect. They were forged in the fires of editorial meetings, printing limitations, and last-minute changes. They are a testament to the fact that sometimes, the best ideas come after the first one is thrown in the trash. It makes you wonder what other secrets are still locked away in those creative vaults. What do you think is the wildest alternate origin story? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into comic book history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more secret stories.